Hello and welcome to the June 11th edition of the Thursday Night Thunder podcast. AJ and M.M.K. This is episode 45 of the series. I know it says 46 in the little description up on top, but it's 45 because we canceled the last episode. Those sort of things happen. I'm your host, Adam Jason Sinclair, and tonight on most hardcore motorsports show on the internet, we'll be talking a little bit about the month of May in Indy, and once again remind you why we're your source for the latest and greatest auto racing news on the planet. First off, of course, we'd have to have a small moment of silence here because of the untimely death of Kyle Busch. Kyle Busch, who just turned 41 years of age a few days before his passing, and also won the Dover race there a few days before his passing, unfortunately died from pneumonia after he passed out during a testing incident there and never regained consciousness, which is totally unfair. Let's have a small moment for Kyle Busch here. For those of you who were able to see the tributes they've had pouring in for Kyle Busch lately, it's been pretty impressive. He might be in line for an automatic admission to the NASCAR Hall of Fame. He's also had they did a little bit of a thing there in Charlotte for him, and they're working on a bunch of different things. The latest one was a special special deal there in Charlotte as the part of the summer series where Brexton Busch waved the green flag and Kyle's father raced around the track in his late model, his little Legends car. That was pretty awesome. So hopefully you get a chance to see that. If you haven't, it's all over the internet. I recommend checking it out. There have also been all sorts of other different promotion things for Kyle where they raise up their fingers and the number 8 on the 8th lap, similar to what they did for Dale Earnhardt when he passed nearly 25 years ago now. Actually, more than 25 years ago now. So that was that's a good thing to have the remembrance of Kyle Busch. Remember that he is the winningest driver in the history of NASCAR with the winning nearly 40%, I think over 33% of his races he entered in the series. That's pretty impressive. Last week, 15 Tennessee career and technical education students from Laverne High School revealed their track-ready Harley-Davidson XR 750 inspired motorcycle at the Murfreesboro Northern Tool and Equipment Store. After 174 days of hard work, problem-solving, and perseverance, students from Laverne High School unveiled the motorcycle they built as part of Northern Tool and Equipment's Legends Build Student Challenge. Working alongside industry mentors and motorcycle legends, the students overcame fabrication challenges, electrical setbacks, and tight deadlines to transform a new Harley-Davidson Nightster into one-of-a-kind flat-track-inspired race bike. The project came down to the wire, but the team delivered. The unveiling marked the culmination of 9 months of effort and the beginning of the motorcycle's next chapter, including a victory lap ridden by flat-track legend Chris Carr and a future display at SEMA, the world's largest automotive aftermarket trade show. On June 6th, the motorcycle made its racetrack debut at the Sons of Speed Nashville Short Track, where it ran a victory lap before the American flat track races there. The Legends Build Student Challenge highlights Northern Tool and Equipment's commitment to igniting a passion for the trades with the next generation by putting professional-grade tools in the hands of high school CTE students and investing in future tradespeople with unique learning experiences and industry mentorship. The retailer's investment has already impacted more than 30 schools across the country, including 2 previous builds, the Monster Jam Mini Build and the Rat Rod Kart Build-Off. This build was made possible with several incredible partners, including Bailey Industrial, Blockhead, Bubba Boswell, Dave Perowitz, DeWalt, Drag Specialties, Harley-Davidson Motor Company, Milwaukee, NAMS Custom Cycle Products, and Racer. Think that story ends here? Not even close. This fall, tune into the Racer Network for an in-depth behind-the-scenes look at the Legends Build from a first-of-its-kind television series, documenting the challenges, setbacks, wins, and teamwork that brought the motorcycle to life. And the journey doesn't stop there either. Following his victory lap, the student-built motorcycle will head to SEMA, the world's largest automotive aftermarket trade show. It will be displayed in the prestigious Builder Showcase, alongside motorcycles and vehicles built by some of the industry's most recognized names. This evening, we're going to welcome Build mentor Scott Parker to the program. Looks like he's trying to connect now. We'll give him a minute. Don't see him here quite yet. Excuse me. We're also going to welcome our co-host, Mulalley Kapalo, who is currently standing by to get into the studio as well. She hasn't quite gotten here yet. I did see her name pop in a second ago, but she's not here at the moment. Again, we apologize for not having our show a couple weeks ago. We were out of town last week. The previous week, it just didn't happen to work out because we ended up having way too long of a meeting for our homeowners association. I know some of you are aware of the perils of living in an HOA, but it's always a good thing to get discussions out in the open and figure out what the best steps are to move things forward. So we're doing that now. Looks like Mykkal is standing by to come into the program here. Give us a minute. Again, it's been a really busy few weeks of racing. Unfortunately, we weren't able to cover them here on this program, but I am trying to review some of them for our for the Motorsports News and Views page. Some of them are not going to be published, of course, because it's getting a little too old. I don't like having old news on that page. It just doesn't seem to work out very well. But it was a really good race there in Indianapolis. I had a chance of watching that. It was awesome. It was a great, great competition. Felix Rosenquist ended up finishing first place there, and in Indianapolis, it was awesome to see him win the race. So hopefully you guys had a chance to watch that. It was a really, really good race. While we're standing by for a guest to come on this evening, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about Kevin and Keelan Harvick, who had an appearance there at the Wenatchee Valley Super Oval out there near Mykkal Mulalley Kapalo's home. I know it was an interesting race. Apparently, they had 25 cars entered. Ended up being 9 cars crossing the finish line, which was something. So, Mykkal, how did you? I know you heard a little bit about how the race went there, and I know you have some personal experience with some of the people who competed. What's your opinion of the race?
I think it's interesting. I know I always say that. That's my favorite word, I guess. But really it is. It's just kind of really interesting, and I don't know. I think a lot of the people want to race that series because of Kevin and his son. And so I think that that's actually pretty cool. But it doesn't seem like they like how they race after they get the chance to race with them. So I don't know. And I don't necessarily believe that because I know of 2 races now that maybe there's 3, I'm not sure, but I know they've done at least 2 over here in the Northwest now. And I know that they have all ended in, the same, this discussion, whose fault was it for wrecking who. And anyways, I don't know. It all sounds like it's just hard competitive racing, I don't know. And I don't know. I think, like I said, that everybody just wants to race them because, and who doesn't? It's Kevin Harvick and his son. But then once they start racing them, they don't quite, like how they race, maybe. I don't know. Because from what I've personally seen, I know that was a lot of word salad, but from what I've personally seen, there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with how they drive and stuff. So I don't know. And maybe they're kind of beefing, to keep it, keep it going. They raced with the Harvicks, so now they're mad, I don't know, but it has been really, really interesting. And I don't think that they are bad race car drivers. I don't think they're bad people. Probably really nobody around here, I guess, is terrible, I suppose. But they just race hard. I think that's what it boils down to. And the ones that also themselves race really hard don't like to be raced hard. So I don't know, but it's interesting. It's been pretty cool having that name float around here. It's been pretty cool. So, what have you seen? Have you seen anything interesting about it?
Oh, I saw was the show the other day when they talked about it. I saw a few clips of the event. Of course, I saw that online. But the it seemed like Kevin Harvick, his impression of the people in Wenatchee and most of the races he goes to, if they're going to race him hard and push him around, he pushes back. So he makes sure that they know that they're going to get whatever they give. If they race him as a really clean and even, then he'll be perfectly clean and even with them. But if they push him one time, he'll push back 10 times harder. So I think that some of the guys, they may not enjoy that, but it gives them an idea of how the bigger leagues play, how people like the future Hall of Famer there, Kevin Harvick, will end up. How those sort of people drive and compete, and if you wind up moving up in the ranks, you have to understand that. I think that's part of the reason why Kevin Harvick does the sort of thing. It's also to give his son more experience and just to sort of have fun, move around the country. He enjoys that too.
Yeah, and it has been really neat. I know that race at the Wenatchee Valley Super Oval has sold out both times that Kevin and his son were there. So it's been really helpful for the racetrack too. It's brought in a bunch of people that want to see the Harvicks and stuff. But I don't, and I would be curious to hear from his point of view if racing, like I believe it's called the Cars Tour Series, or maybe it's the
Hmm.
Cars Series. I don't know, but something with cars. But I would be curious to hear if they are a little bit more, more or less like laid back than racing in like the, NASCAR Cup Series, or, I'd be curious to hear what his differences and,
Yeah,
are.
that would definitely be interesting to figure out. I know we've had a couple drivers in the past who we've talked to who compete in the Cars Tour. So, and I've also reached out to the founder of the Cars Tour to be on the show. He hasn't reached back to me. He not for a while, but I might reach out to him again. But I think that the that tour was set up originally as sort of a way to increase the people who show up at short tracks all around the country. I know it's done a good job at doing that. Going back to what I mentioned a little bit more about Kyle Busch again, Kyle Busch was slated to race in the Cars Tour this season. He was going to be racing for Dale Earnhardt Jr. Motorsports, in one of their cars, which would have been totally awesome. Unfortunately, that didn't get to happen. But the Cars Tour is definitely attracting people from NASCAR to move in and to try and, like I said, try and give the future drivers in stock cars who are hoping to move up the ladder a taste of what they might get in the future. So it seems like it's that sort of thing. It seems like they're investing in it in that way, and that's cool. And again, I'd like to talk to somebody from the Cars Tour in the future. So if you're listening, please go ahead and get in touch with us. I'll go and get that information shortly. But it seems like a really cool series, and I hope it does really well. I think that the race there in actually looked really cool, especially the parts I've seen online, and the fact that Harvick mentioned it a few times is definitely good for local tracks and for Wenatchee Valley especially.
Yeah, it's been pretty cool. I'll say it's been cool. And yeah, I don't know. Unfortunately, and and it was interesting because I think the last race they did at Wenatchee, Harvick in qualifying was 12th fastest. That would be Kevin Harvick, I guess there's both of them now. Was 12th fastest. I'm not quite sure what place he finished, but I don't know. I don't know. It's just really cool. I don't know. So
Once again, we're standing by for build mentor Scott Parker to come on the show this evening. Hopefully, he's on his way. I did get a confirmation yesterday that he'd be on the show, so we're standing by. Hopefully, he's on tonight. But let's go ahead and move on a little bit further down the script here and move on to the next thing. Uh, Today, Dries Van Hoort made a habit of qualifying on pole throughout the 2025 season in the WeatherTech Sports Car Championship competition, with 4 straight poles to start the season. He'll now have the same vantage point for June's major endurance sports car racing classic, the 94th 24 Hours of Le Mans.
Van Thor starts first overall and in the leading 18-car hypercar category aboard his number 15 BMW M Team WRT BMW M Hybrid V8, which he'll share with Rafael Marciello and Kevin Magnussen. Linear distribution of the race is available on Motor Trend and True TV, with digital distribution available via Max, FIAWEC Plus, and HBO Max, with radio coverage all week via Radio Le Mans. The race starts at 4 p.m. local and Central European time on Saturday, June 13th, 10 a.m. Eastern.
Are you a race car driver, crew chief, pit member, track owner, or maybe you're just a huge fan of the sport? Contact us to get your spot on the show. After all, you deserve your 15 minutes of fame, and we'd love to hear from you. Again, the easiest way to do that is to go to Thursday Night Thunder Podcast.podbean.com. We have all the contact information listed on that page. Be sure to check it out. Due to potential inclement weather, NHRA announced an earlier start on Friday for the NHRA Mission Series Drag Racing Series qualifying at the Super Grip NHRA Thunder Valley Nationals at Bristol Dragway. The revised schedule moved the NHRA Mission Food Drag Racing Series qualifying earlier in the day, with Pro Stock Motorcycle and Pro Stock opening Friday qualifying, followed by Nitro qualifying at 2 p.m. and 4:15 p.m. in Funny Car and Top Fuel.
Friday's schedule also includes the completion of the final rounds from the NHRA New England Nationals presented by BPRO wow, I don't know how I got that so bad. B Pro Auto and Funny Car and Top Fuel. Parking lots will open at 7:30 a.m. with the gates opening at 8 a.m. Fans are encouraged to arrive early and stay tuned to NHRA and Bristol Dragway social channels for the latest schedule updates throughout the day. Single day Friday tickets start as low as $35 for adults. Saturday adult tickets start at $60 and Sunday's tickets start at $50. All grandstand tickets for kids 12 and under are free on Friday and $12 each day on the weekend with a paid adult. Discounted weekend packages are limited and limited premium seating are also available. To purchase tickets to the 2026 Super Grip NHRA Thunder Valley Nationals, fans can visit nhra.com/tickets or call Bristol Dragway at 866-415-4158. For more information about the NHRA, visit nhra.com.
The Vintage Grand Prix of Mid-Ohio, the longest continually running spectator event in the track in its 44th year, will feature a mix of vintage and contemporary racing action from 5 Racing America series. Racing America is a collection of dynamic racing series ranging from Sports Car Vintage Racing Association racing, providing hit-rating motion, to late model Porsche and Ferrari competitors from International GT, plus open wheel competition from the rising stars of the sport, racing in the Formula Regional Americas Championship, FR Americas, Formula 4 United States Championship, F4 US, and Ligier Junior Formula Championship, Ligier JFC. 2 car shows happen: the British Car Show Showdown on Saturday, June 13th, and Concours d'Elegance on Sunday, June 14th. So it's going to be a busy weekend of action there at the Grand Prix of Mid-Ohio. Hopefully you have a chance to head out there. I've always thought that Mid-Ohio is a great track. It looks really cool, very well situated there in the foothills, so looks really neat, and hopefully it's a good weekend of racing there in Mid-Ohio. Hopefully the weather doesn't hurt them, because they get about the same sort of weather as they do in Bristol, Tennessee. So we'll see how that goes. Hopefully the weather cooperates more than it has recently, because I know that in Charlotte and in Indianapolis a couple of weeks ago, they had a lot of rain, and that sort of screwed up some of the stuff. It canceled the pit road competition for IndyCar on Friday, which wasn't good, but it happens. And it at least it didn't affect the Weenie 500, which is a very important race nowadays, apparently. When you see the big wieners going around the track at breakneck speed, as it appeared to. And I'm not going to make these sort of really bad wiener jokes they made the entire event, but you can just imagine the two-fisted comments they had about all the high tech and high speed challenges of racing around the track in a Wienermobile. That was definitely, I think that was probably their best race of the weekend. The 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 commentators were really excited about it in more ways than one. So it was weird, but it was cool. So they were having fun with it, and I think the fans really enjoyed it too. It seemed like everyone was having a really big dog time. So it was neat there, and I think that could be a really awesome thing if they had that in more races than just Indianapolis. Let's see the Wienermobiles go around a road course, see how quickly they go, or go around a street course, go downtown St. Petersburg in a Wienermobile. That would be pretty awesome. Uh, did you have a chance to see that? I know I shared that on social media. I think that was really quite the event there.
No, but it sounds like I missed out. I've never seen a wiener race before.
You should. You're definitely missing out, and there's too much you can say about five large wieners going around the track. That's sometimes I think the drivers think that their wieners are more important than the wieners that are actually there. So we'll leave it at that. But it was a quite an experience, and I think it set the pace for the weekend. It made everybody happier, especially considering the fact that it was the couple of days after Kyle Busch unfortunately passed. So it sort of lightened the mood quite a bit, and it was fun. It was a neat race. I did not have a chance to watch much of the NASCAR race from Charlotte, and I didn't watch any of the NASCAR racing or anything else this weekend because I was out of town. But it's definitely been a busy few weeks of racing. I know the racing is starting to sell out like crazy, which is an awesome thing. All across the country, all sorts of racing is selling out. The NHRA is selling out now. They've sold out the past two races. NASCAR, the Cup Series, has sold out the past three races. So it's getting to be quite the thing. I think that the fact that people are just looking for somewhere to get out and enjoy themselves, and the fact that because they have, well, a little bit of extra income, but in more important things, they're trying to figure out a way to keep up their spirits, because some things are a little crazy in this world, and when you go out and enjoy yourself at the racetrack, that makes it a little bit better. So it's a good thing that those races are selling out. That's part of the reason why I ended up buying the tickets to Homestead a little bit earlier, because I know some of those tickets are already getting a little thin for the Homestead race, which is the last race of the NASCAR season. So that's something too. So that's interesting, and we'll see how that goes. I was out in San Diego last weekend, had the chance to head out there for a few days. They're talking quite a bit about the NASCAR race there. There's signage up around town for that, so that's kind of cool. That will be taking place next weekend, and we're going to go ahead and talk a little bit about that next week's show. Uh, I'm hoping to get at least one person on the program who is competing there or who has experience there. I'm reaching out to a bunch of different people, so we'll see how that goes. But if not, we'll go ahead and preview it anyway. It should be a really good race, and it'll be the first race that NASCAR has had on an active duty military base on a naval facility there in Coronado. So that'll be pretty neat. It'll be a race definitely to see.
Wow, that does sound neat. How do they even go about like the opportunity for something like that?
I'm not sure. I know that the naval base Coronado it's a naval air station, but there isn't an air wing that's active there. Most of the time, what they've got is the ship stocked there. They have right now they've got as of last week, as of Monday last week, they had two aircraft carriers docked at the facility. So that'll be a really good backdrop for the race. And I think that the fact that they don't have an active air wing, but they do have the carriers and all that, means they've got a little bit of extra space. So it'll work a little bit easier to have a race in a track that has in a facility that has a little bit more space around it.
Wow. Yeah, that does sound very interesting. I don't know. Yeah, I would
Plus,
be
it's really close to town. It's right there. I think it probably takes a while to get there just because of the way the roads are, but it's really close to town. It's right there in the right on the bay, on the harbor in San Diego. So there'll be an awesome backdrop there, and there's a lot of great stuff in San Diego to see. So if you're heading out there for that race, it should be really awesome. There's a lot of For those of you who don't know and are heading out there, hopefully you're listening to here because that would be great. There's a lot of awesome restaurants, especially in the Gaslamp district off of Fifth Avenue. There's some pretty good ones in the Italian quarter there off of India Street, and there's a lot of museums and that sort of stuff around too. So if you're spending a few days in San Diego in advance or after the race, there's a lot of stuff to do, which would be really fun.
Yeah, that does. So, did you, when you were on your trip, did you get to get a good look at the facility, or I guess the land, or
Oh, we can
whatever?
see. I can see the ships across the way, but other than that, no. You can definitely see the ships from there. They have a park right there next to the near the Midway Museum, next to the National Bob Hope Memorial. So it's kind of neat. You can look over the harbor and see the naval vessels there, the two big aircraft carriers right now, and then they had a frigate of some kind, a smaller frigate there. So they've got all sorts of naval vessels all around San Diego. There weren't quite as many right now as there was when we were there in October, but if you fly into the airport there, you'll see probably 50 or so as you're flying in. So it's pretty neat.
Yeah, that does sound pretty neat.
Unfortunately, it doesn't look like our guest's going to be on this evening. I'll have to reach out to them and see if they can reschedule. But it does look like the the build that they did is a pretty cool idea, and we're going to go ahead and run a piece on Motorsports News and Views about it. We've done a couple in the past. We actually did one for Speedway Digest, which I think is still there. The article's still there, so you just have to look for it about the national. Let me not get this confused here. The Northern Tool and Equipment build series. Just look for that. The Northern Tools and Equipment Legends Build a Student Challenge is actually the name of it. There is at least one article about that on speedwaydigest.com, as well as I've got some on Motorsports News and Views. I'm going to add another one about this one as well. So be sure to check that out. I'll be posting that not this weekend, unfortunately, but sometime in the near future, I will get that out there. So it's a really awesome thing. They've got Kyle Petty involved with it, as well as people like Scott Palmer. Really, really neat thing. It's great for the students. The Monster Jam mini build was pretty neat. That's the one I did the piece for Speedway Digest about, and of course the Rat Rod Kart build off is also an awesome challenge too. So it's kind of a neat thing. It gives the students something awesome to work on when they're looking for projects, and it gives them more exposure in the world of racing and other things. So it's pretty neat.
That is true. And it is pretty neat. When I was trying to come up with a few questions for our guest, ran across a couple pretty cool articles and such about the build, and it sounds like a really neat program, and that's something those kids will remember for the rest of their lives.
Again, we're going to go ahead and reach out to them tomorrow. I might do it tonight, but more than likely be tomorrow. Go ahead and reach out to their PR people and see if we can get somebody rescheduled, whether it's Scott Palmer or even one of the other people. Having Kyle Petty on this show would be pretty cool, but I don't know if that'll happen. Although it has, stranger things have happened. We've talked to Bobby Labonte, who's involved in those sort of projects as well in the past. So you never know. It's going to be again, it's going to be a busy weekend of racing, not only at Mid Ohio, but in other places as well. The NHRA, of course, and NASCAR has their race this weekend too. I believe they're racing in Pocono this weekend. So should be a good weekend of racing. Should be a really awesome weekend for those of you who are trying to think of something to do and hanging out either at the local track or in front of the TV. It's going to be really hot, and of course the weather is having a field day with certain tracks and certain events as well. So we'll see how that goes. Plus, it's a busy weekend. They've got other things. They've got the if you're interested in that sort of thing, the UFC championship is taking place on Sunday in front of the White House. So that's kind of something. I know that's a little bit of a touchy subject for some people, but that is kind of an interesting thing. I think that the more interesting thing about the America 250 is the IndyCar race will be taking place coming up in, I believe it's in August now. So that'll be cool. And so that's a pretty awesome thing. They don't really have many free or any free IndyCar races. So if you have an opportunity to head out there to Washington, D.C. to watch an IndyCar race, be sure to check that out. For those who are interested in traveling in the next few months, I did post something. I saw a really, really great deal for the Daytona race coming up there in August. So if you want to check that out, I'm going to be posting that to the Facebook page shortly. Be sure to check that out. They've got a really good package deal from Westgate Resorts. That does look like a really good deal. There are, of course, strings attached for those sort of things, but for the deal you're getting, I think those strings are worth going through, and it should be a really good race there in Daytona. It always is. Sometimes the weather plays havoc with that, of course, but it's always a really good race there in Daytona. So if you have an opportunity, be sure to check out the race package set up there, and I'll go ahead and share the information in the next few days. With that, let's go ahead and cut out the show for this week, because it appears as if our rider guest is not coming on tonight, unfortunately. But that is how it goes sometimes. Be sure to check out past episodes of Thursday Night Thunder by visiting facebook.com/SD Thursday Night Thunder. Listen to previous episodes of this show at the Thursday Night Thunder Podcast. That's Thursday Night Thunder Podcast.podbean.com, on Podchaser, on iHeartRadio, on Boomplay, on Spotify, on Player FM. You can also find us on Apple Music now, as well as your favorite place to download podcasts. I'm sure we're there. You can check it out on YouTube at youtube.com/ForBorePlums. That's FABORPLUMBS. I have all the past shows of this program, plus some from the previous incarnation there, listed on that page. So be sure to check that out. Please check out the Thursday Night Thunder page on Facebook. That's facebook.com/SD Thursday Night Thunder for information about the fan club feature of Podbean. I think that's a really awesome thing. I haven't really added a lot of stuff to that yet, but if you check that out, I promise I will. I also invite you to check out my racing news site at motorsportsnewsandviews.wordpress.com. Content on there recently, past few weeks especially, about the IndyCar and those sort of things. Be sure to check that out. And indeed, I have other racing news coming up for that as well. In addition, if you're a fan of South Florida, and who isn't, be sure to check out the latest news and information about our slice of paradise and my travel blog, For Plum's Fantastic Finds. It can be found on Facebook, on X, or heading to For Plum's Fantastic Finds, as FABORPLUMBS, fantasticfinds.wordpress.com. I'd also invite you to check out Instagram. That's For Plums, FABORPLUMBS. That has all sorts of pictures about my recent trip, so be sure to check that out as well.
Thank you for listening, and we look forward to seeing you again next week in the Thunderdome as we discuss the major issues in the world of modern auto racing.
Thanks again, and have a great night.